G'day everyone, and welcome. Today, as a follow-up to the video I did yesterday where I was talking about the other festive ship rewards, which were the tier 10 variants, I'm going to talk about the tier 8 versions here today. And yeah, let's just get into it. So the 5 ships that we have, if you manage to get enough tokens for a tier 8, but not enough to get towards a tier 10, you could grab the tier 8 Japanese destroyer here, the Akazuki, the US battleship, the North Carolina, the German submarine, the U-190, the British carrier, the Implacable, or the Pan-Asian cruiser, the Harbin here. Now, straight off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys, once again, if you guys are really invested in either getting a tier 10 of this line, or you really want a particular tier 8 in this list, go for it, and just grab it straight away. But there's 2 ships I'm going to tell you guys to completely avoid, and it should really come as no surprise as to which ones I'm going to tell you guys, probably don't grab unless you've got, say, everything else in this list. First one is going to be Implacable. Do not get this thing. and it hurts me to say this, but what is the best thing about the ship? In my opinion, the best thing that comes about this ship is if you go ahead and you complete one of the British collections, you get this cool skin for it. That's it. I'm sorry, but there's not many redeeming factors about this carrier, especially in abundance to some of the other tier 8 carriers that we have in the game. This thing is just a struggle bus. I have a soft spot for it, but I cannot in good faith recommend this to players to be picking up, especially some of the other ships over some of the other ships in this list. So, and plus, if you manage to get enough tokens, you could have just grabbed the tier 10 of this line instead, so you're completely bypassing the ship. I wouldn't recommend this, just leave this ship off, but if you want this to get this one because it's worth the most free experience and you had everything else, that would be about the only thing. Kind of a similar story for the sub. Sub gameplay in this game is not great, and I just can't in good faith recommend a sub. The main reason I say I want you guys to avoid picking both the sub and the carry as well, is for the length of time you would be needing to grind through, say, a tier 8 and a tier 9 to get towards the tier 10 of, say, a different line, so such as a destroyer line or a battleship line or a cruiser line. You have to play this same ship for the same time you would be playing 2 other ships, because you've got to grind both what is effectively both a tier 8 and a tier 9 with this ship, in comparison to just playing a tier 8 and a tier 9 with some of the other stuff. Now, if that works for you, go for it, but I don't really recommend this thing. I don't think it's worth the time and hassle trying to get to this when there's other fun ships you can get. It's a submarine. It does look pretty cool and everything, and I think submarines are kind of interesting, but in this game, I don't think it's worth putting your time and effort to get this over some of the other ships in line. In the lineup, I should say. Speaking of the other ships, let's go straight away to the Akazuki. Now, I adore this thing. This thing is so much fun. I love my Akazuki, and namely, obviously, because the gunpowder of this thing is pretty awesome. I have got a 21-point commander in this thing for good reason, and that's because it's also part of the Harugumo line, which is the cheapest line in the entire game, experience-wise. It costs about 656,000 experience, I think, to research from tier 1 to tier 10. And it is just so much fun. I love this ship so much, and I've played this thing several times over grinding it through because of Research Bureau. And I would keep doing it again. This thing is a lot of fun. I do think it's absolutely worth it. And especially if you're not a fan of, say, torpedo boats, because the previous 3 ships in this line, unfortunately, are kind of more torpedo boat focused, and then you get the Akazuki and you go all out on the guns. If you aren't a fan of those other torpedo boat destroyers, which hurts me to say because I'm a fan of Japanese destroyers, grab this thing, build straight for the guns, and enjoy your way playing through both this, the Kitakaze, and then towards the Harugumo. You won't regret this line whatsoever, and I do recommend players to grab this. They are a little bit bigger and a little bit more chunky to handle compared to, say, other destroyers of their equivalent tier. But the gunpowder these things pack is pretty brutal, and I do recommend it. So, that's the tier 8 destroyer. What about the cruiser in this lineup? Now, Harbin is not bad as a tier 8 cruiser. It's a light cruiser, and you've got the Pan-Asian features as well. You've got smoke, you've got your torpedo reload booster, you've got 6 torpedoes on each side here, and then deep water torpedoes, so they pack an absolute punch against battleships. But why do I have a special leaning towards this line? Now, there was a video I released earlier this year, and I got a damage record, not only for myself, but it was in the Jinan, which is the tier 10 of this line, and I did like over 400,000 damage for that ship. So to say I'm a little bit biased towards this line, it would be a bit of an understatement. I really think the Jinan is a fun ship to be playing. It's not the easiest to play, and like I've gotten absolutely punished for it. But it is such a fun ship. You've got like this bundle of gimmicks. You've got the smoke screen. You're a light cruiser. You've got these fantastic deep water torpedoes. You've got torpedo reload booster as well, for goodness sake. It is so much fun to be playing, and I do recommend to actually grab it if that's your cup of tea. If it's not, I would recommend a different cruiser line, but out of the selection we've got here, this is a pretty good line to be grinding down. The Sejong at tier 9, I really like that thing as well. Harbin is not bad either. So the line, I think, is pretty good to be going down, and yeah, biased towards the tier 10, but I do think it's one you should consider trying to go down. But if you want to, grinding the entire line is not actually that's the worst thing in the world either. All the ships are actually pretty alright. Just keep in mind they are light cruisers, so you do need to have a bit of a screw on as to what you're actually doing. Otherwise, you will get absolutely punished, and especially light cruisers, citadels, they're easy to get blapped. And finally, we're going to just quickly talk here about one of my first tier 8 battleships in the entire game. Well, all first tier 8 ships in general in the entire game, and that was the North Carolina. This thing is a perfect training battleship to be playing. Now, earlier this year, I made a video talking about what's the grind like down towards the Montana, and I'll link that down below in the description. This thing is gold. It teaches you perfectly, like, how do you actually play a battleship. You don't sit at 20 kilometers permanently sniping. You obviously can't always brawl with people, but this teaches you don't show broadsides. Yes, it's a bit tricky to like actually lead your shots at longer ranges given American shell velocity, but this thing is really, really good. I just really enjoyed playing this ship. And I do think this is a very worthwhile pick for players to be picking up. And then you've got the Iowa at tier 9, which is a great battleship as well. I really enjoyed that thing. And then the Montana at tier 10. Montana is a little bit tougher to play because you've got smaller caliber guns compared to a lot of the other ships at your tier. But it is still a great ship to be playing. So out of these 3 ships, this one really comes down to your personal preferences to what you are most particularly interested in or what you're going to get the most value for. I would definitely be picking Akazuki, North Carolina, or Harbin, and completely avoiding the U-190 or the Implacable, unless you just want to be grabbing some free experience if you have all the tier 8s and you couldn't get a tier 10 instead. In which case, just pick Implac because it's worth the most free experience. But that's all I've got to say for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please let me know your thoughts and stuff down below, and I will hopefully catch you guys in another video. So thanks all, and I'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy all.